In 2020, Buy Now Pay Later, also known as BNPL, accounted for $97 million spent on e-commerce alone.
That's a lot of money.
This year, it is estimated that 4 out of 6 Americans use BNPL on everyday purchases ranging from clothing to food deliveries, with over 59% of BNPL users acknowledging using these services for unnecessary impulse purchase. Have you ever online shopped, hit the add to cart button on all the items you fell in love with, just to realize that the total amount due is a tad bit out of budget for your current paycheck?
A couple things I'd like to go over in the budget.
Consider paying a fraction of your cart value just as if you got it on 50% discount or more.
Bootlicker! Our prices have never been lower!
Except, all you have to do is pay back the whole amount in smaller portions over an agreed period of time. So not really a discount,
There was no discount.
but more of an installment with little to 0% interest.
Sounds amazing.
Isn't that great? You can virtually get anything you want almost immediately
Anything? Anything!
if you keep up to the agreed payment terms. And companies like Split, Afterpay, and Klarna have done exactly that, allowing people to make purchases without really having the actual money first in hand. Although the terms and conditions of BNPL programs vary, these companies typically provide short-term loans with fixed payments and zero interest within the period of 30 days or 6 to 12 months. BNPL options are usually heavily advertised online, frequently when you're on the checkout page, so you can't miss it. When accepted, you put down a small deposit, say 25% of the overall purchase price, and the remaining balance is then paid off in a series of interest-free installments throughout a certain duration of time. It's usually auto-deducted from your bank account, credit or debit card, depending on your selected payment option. Isn't as simple as that though. So if BNPL companies are paying the bulk of purchases upfront, then where do they earn their share of the pie? Generally, BNPL companies generate the majority of their money by charging retailers a fee for using their services. That proposition to retailers is that internal research demonstrates when buyers utilize Buy Now Pay Later services, their checkout total is relatively higher than without BNPL. This overall gives retailers more volume in terms of sales from potential buyers that are initially hesitant to make a purchase, or from existing buyers to make even more purchases than they already did, because the perceived total cart value has been alleviated. As a result, people are spending more money with Buy Now Pay Later services because they don't feel the initial burden of the purchase immediately.
It burns! Ah!
Instead, it's spread out in bite sizes over time. This persuades buyer psychology to spend more as they do not visually see the whole bulk of money being stripped away and removed from their bank account. Not yet, at least. Additionally, BNPL companies tend to promote themselves as risk-free lending choices, convincing buyers that by using BNPL, they are opting for better financial choices, encouraging financial self-care, that save more by spending more and treat yourself mentality.
Self-care, man!
And these all can be seen from their marketing campaigns that screams instant gratification and consumerism at its finest. By using FOMO and urgency tactics, BNPL engages and encourages users to stay relevant with the next big purchase urgently. This is often layered with an emotional appeal, such as a photo of someone looking all happy and satisfied after making a purchase, as if all their financial worries are vanished with BNPL. And though most BNPL companies market themselves as being transparent with no hidden fees upon buying, that's pretty much the extent of transparency they're sharing publicly, because nobody wants to read the fine print. And a campaign that says, hey, by the way, it's interest-free now, but if you miss a payment, that's a whole other story, just doesn't sell.
Suspicious. Very suspicious.
It's important to read between the lines of all these messagings from marketing campaigns and how it is affecting our psychology towards money. The reality is that companies are willing towards such approaches because to a certain extent, it works. It hits all of the buyer's pain points and desires. So eventually, they will convert. And if BNPL is supposed to alleviate financial burden, why are most BNPL options available for non-essential expenditures like fashion, makeup, and branded goods? Why is it heavily marketed on sectors with materials that are often indulgent rather than essentials? To make matters worse, according to a Credit Karma survey conducted earlier this year, a quarter of respondents saw their total debt increase after using BNPL apps, and more than 20% ended up using their credit cards to pay down their BNPL bills. In other words, if you fall behind on your payments or if you're using credit to pay back credit, that means you're paying 2 times the interest. And if your BNPL financing becomes a loan you'll have to pay off with your credit card loan, then that's a loan on top of another loan. Which brings me to my final point. Bottom line is, when utilized correctly, BNPL can be a straightforward way to acquire things without immediately giving up your money up front, and one of the more convenient method of managing cash flow, with interest-free as long as you're up to date with your payments. While the risk associated with late payments typically fall on the buyers, it is important to note that 46% of BNPL users anticipate making a late payment for purchases. All in all, regardless of your choices, it's important to read the fine print before incorporating a new financial means to support your expenses. So what are your thoughts about BNPL? And are you buying now and paying later?